Hi y'all, Kraken Latte here. So I've been asked many times about what classes are the best for gold making and which are my favorite. The best classes can vary depending on what you're using them for, so what I'm going to cover here are my favorites. This won't be a super in-depth deep dive guide on how to play them, as classes tend to change as the expansions go by, but I will give an overview to give you an idea of why I like them. But first, let's give a warm welcome to my newest patron, Escalante. Thank you so much for your support, and welcome to the Kraken crew. Alright, let's get into it. So, these will be listed in my least to most favorite, and I'll go over a bit about them, the spec I prefer, and why I like them. Remember, these are just my favorites. This isn't the end-all list for min-max gold makers. This is just for fun. Starting with number 5, Monk. Monk is actually one of my top favorite classes to play in WoW, but as you can imagine, it's also got some nice tricks up its sleeves for farming. All 3 specs are great and have their specific uses, so this class is nice and well-rounded. Brewmaster, at least as of this video, can take the talent Summon Blackhawk Statue to AoE taunt everything in a 20-yard radius. I don't use this as much as I used to, but it's great for mass open-world farming. Windwalker has epic speed, both passive and active use to live up to its name. Between Flying Serpent Kick, Rolls, and Chi Torpedoes, the 10% Windwalking speed passive, this one will get you where you need to go. My only grumble is that it doesn't have the spammable AoE that it used to, which is where Mistweaver comes in. Currently, Mistweaver can just spam their Spinning Crane Kick to become an endless tornado of death, which is fantastic for just AoEing low-level trash mobs down. And Mist also has part of Windwalker's speed abilities in the form of Roll and Chi Torpedo, so that helps keep you fast. I like this spec for its speed and AoE, which is great for farming mass amounts of low-level content. Its lack of spammy AoE and super single weak ranged move, though, puts Monk at number 5 for me. Number 4, Demon Hunter. That's right, everyone's OP favorite class as of 8.3, so of course it's on my list. I happen to like Demon Hunter regardless of the crowd attention it gets, as it has amazing mobility in the form of its dashes, leaps, disengages, glide ability, and AoE. Havoc is the DPS spec that tends to get the most limelight due to its dash Fell Rush, its disengage called Vengeful Retreat, and the AoE talents it can take, as well as being able to take on more challenging content at lower item levels by just dishing out the damage. Vengeance, the tank spec, is actually my preference of the two for farming. They both have about the same speed, with Havoc being just a bit faster, but I rather like how Vengeance feels, and it has a very similar toolkit to Havoc. I like being able to double leap with Infernal Strike and leave runes in my wake thanks to Flame Crash, so it just feels satisfying. I tend to be a tank player at heart though, so it could just be my bias showing through, as Brewmaster and Vengeance happen to be my favorite tanks in the game. That said, Demon Hunter lacks the spamminess I'd like, as well as only having one decent ranged move, much like the Monk. So that's why this one's at number 4 for me. Number 3, Druid. This one's probably the number 1 gold farm class for most people, mainly the feral and balance specs. Druid in general is super versatile in having all 4 roles of tank, heals, ranged DPS, and melee DPS in its arsenal, as well as a plethora of hugely useful utilities. Not only can you use all of your different forms and all of your specs, you can shapeshift into a flying mount instantly, and interact with most objects without dismounting, including herbs. Since Tauren have the herbalism racial, that's why you'll often see herb farmers as Tauren druids. Feral also has a few speed and movement abilities like Dash, Stampeding Roar, Tiger Dash, and Wild Charge. Heck, this class even comes primed with a stealth ability called Prowl. It's usable in all specs too. And on top of that, it's got decently spammable AoE thanks to Swipe, Brutal Slash, and Thrash, as well as a good ranged ability, Moonfire, for tagging things. All of which you can use while in feral form with the right talents. There is a metric ton about this spec that's useful, including how all the different racials play well with the class, and it'd probably take an entire video to cover it. So let's just say that this is the best class for a possumly good time. That's why Druid is at my number 3. Number 2, Rogue. Specifically, Subtlety. Now, that probably sounds a bit weird to you, as you don't hear rogues being all the rage for gold farming besides pickpocketing and stuff, right? Well, I got 2 words for you. Stealth speed and spammable AoE. Okay, that was more than 2, but still, here's what I mean. At the time of 8.3, sub-rogues have the ability Shuriken Storm, which is a pretty strong AoE and is darn near spammable even with low haste. That's a plus for me since that's something I like for farming. It also has at least one ranged ability which actually does decent damage in old content in the form of Shuriken Toss. And it's got unlimited stealth, which can come with talents that increase your speed while stealthed, such as Night Stalker, and passive healing while stealthed, such as Soothing Darkness. And if you're stealthed a lot for farming, that stuff is active almost constantly. Of course, you can also break combat with Vanish, which is a major boon if you run old content long enough to find glitches. Trust me on that. On top of all that, it's also got a speed boost in the form of Sprint, usable while stealthed. This is actually my preferred class for old raids like Blackrock Foundry, as I can easily skip all the trash that doesn't give loot, and I'm constantly almost as fast as a Druid while doing it. Is Druid faster? Probably. But I like Sub more, so that's why this one's my number 2. And at last, my number 1 favorite, you've probably guessed it if you know me by now, Hunter. Specifically Marksman, with a side of Beastmaster. I actually really like Survival too, but not for gold farming. I'm a sucker for ranged abilities, and Hunter is the only class that can use its entire toolkit while moving. The ranged stuff, at least. Sorry, Druids. In this case, Beastmaster is the one who's completely mobile and can even take the talent Animal Companion, which lets them use 2 pets at once. If you make sure to have 2 pets out that give you the speed buff Pathfinding, you'll naturally have a passive 12% speed increase at all times. Both specs can also take the talent Trailblazer to increase your passive speed so long as you don't attack by 30%, which is great for making long runs and pulling whole instances in one shot. Coupled with the Beastmaster's Pathfinder pets, that's a constant 42% speed buff. Passive. Of course, this stacks with other speed buffs and your Aspect of the Cheetah dash ability too. Alternatively, you can take the talent Post Haste to give you a speed boost after each time you disengage, which is great if you spend a lot of time attacking and pulling in groups instead of entire long runs. Both specs also have CCs, slows, stuns, self-heals, and even a shield, making them equipped, kinda like Druid, for many types of farming. And of course, their ranged abilities are just delicious, especially everyone's favorite, Barrage. Capable of pulling entire instances and pissing people off. Shh, it's okay, just let it happen. Multi-shot is the next best and virtually spammable, on top of being at least 40-yard range, so while Druid has Hunter beat in speed bursts, Hunter's got range down pat. Why is Marksman on here though? 2 reasons. 1, I like how it plays more, even in its various versions over the years, and 2, fast draw. The Marksman Legion artifact. This gives you a passive 25% speed buff which stacks with all this other stuff, so long as you're in the Broken Isles. This buff was limited to the Broken Isles sometime in early BFA, which makes me uber sad, but it still lives on in my heart, so that's what matters. And all that puts my Hunter at number 1 on my list. And there we have it. That's my little list of my favorite classes to do any type of gold farming with. This covers all the classes I use actually for all that stuff, typically. I thought I'd slide in a shorter, more funsy type of video instead of my usual analytical stuff to shake things up. Do you like these videos? Would you like to see more of my opinionated things? Do you have a favorite class I didn't talk about? Do you have any tricks with the ones on my list? Share all your thoughts. I want to hear them down in the comments below. As always, thank you so much for watching. If you have some neat tips or feel like I missed something on this topic, share down below. If you want to see more of me in free-form, unscripted action, check me out on my gaming channel of Latte Tea. The link for that is in the description. Leave a like, comment, and subscribe if you like my content. And remember, it's never too latte.